Let's go.
Good morning, Ringside Wrestling. It's me, Nick Hausman, the managing editor of Wrestling Inc., and we are here with a special video version, our Friday installment of our WINCLY. And I am joined here, as I am every Friday, by the owner, the boss, the proprietor, the man up top of Wrestling Inc., it's Raj Giri. Raj, welcome back to the Friday WINCLY with me.
All right, thanks. It's always great to be here, Nick.
Oh, absolutely. We got a lot of news to get to. The ratings may have been down this past week, but the news is up. Lots of news this past week. Before we get to that, I want to remind you guys we are here on the Ringside Wrestling app, as we are every Friday at 2 o'clock. It's free to download. Go check it out. You get original programming Monday through Friday, 7:30 p.m. We, of course, are the afternoon show on Fridays. You get other great shows like Danger Zone, Fantasy Warfare, Game Night with Josh Matthews, and a lot more. Just a great app. Go play. Go download it. Play with it. It's free. It's fun. So there you go. Also, later on in the show here today, after I chat the top 5 stories of the Wink with Raj, we're going to be playing our latest interview out in the field. Our field correspondent, Andy Malnoske, he was at WrestleCon 2019, and he chatted with one of my favorite novelty pro wrestling, I'd say fringe stars of all time, and that is Butterbean. Oh, Butterbean, Raj.
Yeah, I mean, anyone that followed wrestling in the Attitude Era knows Butterbean. He changed a lot of plans.
Oh, absolutely. Big old man there. Good at knocking people out like Bart Gunn. So we will hear from Butterbean here later in the show with Andy Malnoske, but we're going to get to our top 5 stories of the Wink. And to start it off, guys, we have some exclusive breaking news for you here, right here on the show. We are going to confirm a brand new multi-year signing for Impact Wrestling, and that man is Willie Mack. Oh, my goodness gracious. Willie Mack is going to be with Impact Wrestling here for what we were told is a multi-year deal. He's most recently, over the past couple months, been seen alongside Rich Swann. There was a bit of a kerfuffle over the weekend with Willie Mack. He defended his NWA. He defended his NWA Heritage Heavyweight Championship, or National Heavyweight Championship, I believe it was, the big red one, and he lost it to Colt Cabana. But when he appeared at the NWA ROH Crockett Cup, they were also sent a letter by Lucha Underground via AAA's owner Dorian Roldan, where they were basically telling them not to use Willie Mack. Now, we know is Willie, I think, is still signed to Lucha Underground from what it sounds like, but as we've noted in the past, Lucha Underground and Impact Wrestling, they have a bit of a relationship where, Lucha Underground talent like the Lucha Brothers and so on have appeared on the show. But what do you make here, Raj, of Willie Mack re-signing with Impact Wrestling?
Yeah, it's interesting because I know Lucha Underground, they sent some cease and desist letters, as you mentioned, to Jeff Cobb, Famous B, and apparently Willie Mack. They weren't happy with him attending some of the NWA events. So yeah, I know they're changing their stance a little bit. They just released, or they're getting set to release Jeff Cobb from his Lucha Underground contract. Lucha Underground, they don't have a show a next season lined up. The talent has kind of been limbo. So they have been letting a lot of talent go, especially the ones that have been seeking legal representation. So great signing for Impact. Willie Mack's a very talented guy. So great get.
Yeah, and, I was fortunate enough to actually get to sit down with Willie Mack just before he recorded here. I chatted with him for about 20 minutes. So we have quotes and audio talking to Willie Mack about this big re-signing. They're going to be rolling out all weekend over at WrestlingInc.com. And, of course, on Tuesday's episode of our WINCLY podcast, I'll be releasing the full audio that we got with Willie Mack here earlier today. On the note of Willie Mack signing with Impact Wrestling, I think it's interesting, him making the choice to sign with Impact as opposed to what could have been maybe with ROH and NWA. In many ways, I feel like Impact has really become kind of the workhorse company with a lot of independent guys like Willie Mack. And I think that's what's really helping Impact stand out right now from the pack is just how good their in-ring product has been as of late.
Yeah, I mean, you hear the feedback for Rebellion last weekend, and it's just been, it's been an overwhelmingly positive response. So, the people that are, they're checking it out. They're not disappointed. They just need a bigger footprint. So, but they're putting out a quality product right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very interesting. Excited for Willie Mack and a good signing there by Impact Wrestling. On to our second top story of the Wink. We'll get to it here. Of course, the thing that broke the internet Jon Moxley has returned. The former Dean Ambrose released a viral video via Twitter of him breaking out of prison and being chased by the hounds of justice. Raj, this was a late night drop here. What was it? Tuesday night, Monday night, something? No, Tuesday night, late night for us.
It was late at midnight Eastern, right after midnight, right after his contract expired.
Had to make my way downstairs to the bar underneath my house to make some calls there that night to figure out what the hell was going on. Raj, we are the wrestling internet. We got broken. What was your take here on the Moxley return?
I was ready to go to bed that night. That video dropped. Yeah, I was like 15 more minutes. But that promo was awesome. So, he's going to be reportedly returning to the Indies. His WWE contract expired April 30th. He was actually scheduled for WWE live events through the end of his contract. He was scheduled for this past Monday's Raw at one point. And then when they made the decision to do that network special, they pulled him from all the other shows the rest of the month. So, he's free. He's clear. That video was awesome. It looked it looked like a Hollywood trailer. It was, we were on the wrestling podcast this past Monday night. This past Tuesday night, we're talking about the Aleister Black promo and how it was very plain. And then you see something like this. WWE is $1 billion company. A very plain promo for Aleister Black, Dean Ambrose, Jon Moxley, back to his old name, and he just nailed it out of the park. It was amazing. It's got 2.5 million viewers as we're talking right now.
There's still just a lot of weirdness to this with me, right? Because I've been poking around too, and I heard the same line from another reliable source for WrestleMania weekend, which was he's lined up some indie bookings, which is exactly what I heard from Dave Meltzer earlier today in the newsletter. And look, I just want to know what those indie bookings are. I want to know who he's talking to. Is it CZW? Is he going back to DJ Hyde? I don't know. I want to know who these companies are. I also want to know if he's so independent and going to be jumping to the independent scene. Where's this guy's Pro Wrestling Tees store? I mean, there's just, again, you talk about how Hollywood that promo was that he released. I don't know. I don't know what's going on necessarily. I don't want to jump to the conclusion this is so clean cut. There's still just a lot of weirdness around this one for me, Raj.
It's very different. I mean, usually there's a pattern when a wrestler leaves WWE, right? They get their Pro Wrestling store, they change their name, they put their independent bookings email address up, and
where's the StarCast booking, Raj? Where's the StarCast announcement, right? I mean, it's like he's not following the plan.
And that's great. It keeps you guessing. He's doing it on his own terms. And I think that's one of the things that WWE never fully captured after he went singles was that unpredictable character. They call him the lunatic fringe, but it never really showed. And I think you're seeing it now.
It's crazy to think about where we're at right now. Yeah, maybe he shows up at AEW Double or Nothing. We read earlier today CM Punk will not be at Double or Nothing reportedly because he's got a booking in Coachella that night for another cage fighting promotion. So let's take Double or Nothing off the table here. If AEW does have a TV show here come October, let's say hypothetically on TNT or whatever, right? If they could get Jon Moxley and CM Punk as some kind of new age outsiders faction here, I mean, that's the buzz. That's the draw. That's the two bullets in the chamber.
And if I were AEW and I had either of those guys, I'm holding off on announcing anything until the TV date.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I heard, because I started reaching out and one of the people I talked to was like, you may not hear from this guy for a while, right? So this is something that could have just taken everybody by storm, right? He showed up at Cauliflower Alley Club a couple days ago, but I don't know that it's a given a Double or Nothing. I mean, we could be waiting 6 months and this guy, boom, pops up out of nowhere and capitalizes on the momentum he just started now, Yeah,
or he could just be taking a break, taking it easy, do some indie dates and go back to WWE. Who knows? Because they gave him a strong exit. You don't normally see someone get 40 farewells like
No.
Ambrose did. So,
no.
So I'm sure they're under the impression that he'll be back.
Yeah, maybe we get the summer of Moxley, right?
There
Dean Ambrose is dead. Long live Moxley. That's why they said goodbye to Dean.
And back in the day, you could go to WCW and kind of refresh yourself and get that fresh coat of paint. You don't have that now. So when he comes back, if he does, he's that much more fresh and bigger.
Well, let's talk about a couple guys that are coming back to WWE. Our third top story of the Wink: Brock Lesnar and Goldberg returning to WWE. At the June 7th Saudi Arabia show. WWE has made it official. The Undertaker will also be a part of that show. And on that note, a couple hours before Brock was announced for the next Saudi Arabia show, it was also revealed to ESPN via Dana White that Brock Lesnar is officially done with MMA, and UFC is changing their plans with Daniel Cormier accordingly here. Very interesting series of moves here. What's going on? What do you think's going on with Brock?
So what happened apparently with Brock, according to the Observer on Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer said that Brock actually named his price to Dana White, and Dana scoffed at it, and that was it. And that's the end of Brock, I guess, in MMA, unless they find a way to negotiate a new deal, which seems unlikely at this point. That's what happened with Brock. So yeah, he was announced for the Saudi Arabia show, Goldberg and the Undertaker. So the big guns are coming out. They waited very last minute to announce the Saudi show. They're moving the next takeover to June 1st is the new date that they announced. No location. They don't know where it is yet, but they announced a date.
Sure.
It's very weird. Surprising that Goldberg will come back for it, but they're kind of running out of rabbits they could pull out of the hat now. Obviously, I think Lesnar and Goldberg against each other seems like a logical fit. The Saudi prince, he likes the older stars, but if they were up to me, I'd be doing Goldberg versus Roman, Lesnar versus Rollins, Elias versus Undertaker. And you know what? I'd have Elias beat Undertaker.
Oh, man.
Could you imagine the buzz for that? I mean, no one would see it coming. It would give Elias something. He's been floundering. And same thing for, I'd have Roman obviously beat Goldberg and Rollins beat Lesnar.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't hate that at all. I think it's a good way to actually maybe use this event to elevate a couple talents by having to beat those guys. But Brock Lesnar, he was doing this interview in Australia earlier this week. It was like his third live interview in his entire career, because I guess his lawyers tell him when he talks he is too blunt and opens himself up to lawsuits, I guess. But anyway, as he was doing the interview, he talked about how he doesn't even want to take the movie offers from The Rock because they involve him losing to The Rock in movies. What a crazy thing, in my opinion,
Yeah, I wonder if he's joking around with that. I guess that interview was done a few weeks ago, but
okay.
Brock just never came across as a Hollywood kind of guy.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting if the story is true, where Dana didn't want to meet his price. I don't know realistically if Brock would entertain a leap from WWE to AEW, but as long as Vince is paying him bag fills with money. But I don't know what Bellator's resources would be like, but they very much like the pro wrestlers in the Bellator mix, and that would be a huge get for them if UFC is not able to be a home for Brock anymore.
Right. Well, if Brock actually did retire, like Dana White said, that would mean that he's out of the drug testing pool. So he would have to go, back into everything. Now he's only been out for a couple of weeks, right, or a week or whatever. So it's not that big of a deal. But I also do believe that he is under contract to UFC. His old contract still is in effect. So if he wanted to fight again, it would have to be for UFC.
Interesting. Well, Brock Lesnar's attitude towards contracts is keep them short and let me do kind of my own thing. So who knows? Anyway, I'll speculate. I'm a pundit, whatever. All right. The fourth top story of the Wink here. We'll get to it now. Daniel Bryan is apparently returning to WWE, according to the Observer. He's been out of action since WrestleMania with some kind of undisclosed injury that's been kept close to the vest. He is cleared now. He could be back on TV as part of storylines as early as next week. What do you do with Daniel Bryan, Raj?
I feel like they need him. SmackDown, Raw, both doing all-time low ratings this week. Daniel Bryan has been he has missed on that show. He's been just absolutely amazing lately. It's one of those things where ratings are dropping so quick that do you wait until after Money in the Bank, after the Kofi Kingston wrestles Kevin Owens, they get that done and then bring him back? Or just bring him back now, maybe have him do something else for a couple of weeks, sit tight, and then wait until Money in the Bank, and then, get back in the world title picture. But they need him. It's great that he's back. He's advertised for this Monday's live event and Tuesday's SmackDown. It doesn't mean he'll appear on camera. But it's great news, because I think a lot of people were getting concerned with how quiet this entry was being kept.
My gut says I think they put him I think they make it a triple threat in Money in the Bank and get the title back on Bryan. I want to be optimistic and say they'd let Kofi get the win over Kevin Owens, and then have Daniel Bryan maybe be the next in line. But I'm with you. I think they're going to make a knee-jerk reaction here. I see Daniel Bryan getting the title back at Money in the Bank. And then, of course, you could spin off Kevin Owens and Kofi Kingston into a non-title blood feud. I mean, it's already built in, and Daniel Bryan can go off to the next thing,
The only thing with that is I'm sure they'll want a SmackDown title match at the Saudi Arabia event. Daniel Bryan did refuse to go to the last one. I don't know if his opinions have changed. The last one, the murder of the journalist Khashoggi, was a hot topic, and that helped. That was a big factor in John Cena and Daniel Bryan changing their minds, because Daniel Bryan was at the first Saudi Arabia event in the Greatest Royal Rumble. So,
well, I guess it's like. For me, I guess it's like, okay, we could go down a rabbit hole of politics here, but like Fox Entertainment wing is not the same as Fox News wing. I don't really know how Fox is like. Do they have an opinion on wanting Daniel Bryan? Do they have an opinion on wanting the SmackDown brand represented at this show? I don't know. I could see them just as easily being like, hey, if you can get those ratings back up before you come over here in October, that's the priority right now.
Yeah, you don't want to. The steeper the hole, the harder it is to make up for it. So you don't want to erode too much of your audience before making the move to Fox. But I just think to have a world title match, they probably have Kofi keep it for now, and then they could go with Daniel Bryan versus Kofi at Stomping Grounds. I mean, you can still have it a triple threat. Kofi pins Owens anyway, and then move on to Bryan versus Kofi.
All right, last big story here of the Wink, another one that we broke here right on Wrestling Inc. Based off of an interview our own Andy Malnoske did out in the field with Kurt Angle, WWE Hall of Famer. Kurt has signed a 5-year deal with WWE. He's going to act as a producer and agent, but he's also teased possibly managing some talent on screen, which I thought was an interesting tease. Knowing Kurt's around here for the next 5 years, kind of at the capacity where they'd like him to do kind of anything, what do you do with Kurt?
Well, I mean, it kind of explains why he was pulled from StarCast, right? Yeah, and as a producer, I mean, you cannot think of a better guy as far as teaching young talent the ropes, because of how quickly he caught on and how fast of a learner he was, and to, spread that wisdom and his experiences. I think it's a great move. Now, as far as on screen, the GM role was, I mean, he admitted in that interview, you could check it out. It was on Tuesday's WINCLY, so make sure to check that out. But he talked about how being a GM was harder than wrestling, just with all the scripted promos and the things he had to do. But being something like a manager or something, I could definitely see that, but it would have to be with the right guy. I don't want to see then pair him with Chad Gable, and then they're just beating Chad Gable every week. It does nothing for either guy, either guy.
You do Chad Gable. It's like as soon as you talk about who's a man, is it Chad Gable, right? So the only thing earlier this week I was talking on the WINCLY with Justin about if I was thinking about Kurt Angle as a manager role, like I kind of love the idea of him being kind of like a fox catcher type guy where he's got like a team of wrestlers, and like you could even have like a real gym, right? Where it's like you go to the Angle gym and they're representing and there's like a camaraderie amongst them, or maybe interpersonal feuds and stuff. But then you have Kurt Angle very much in the role he's comfortable with, which is as a wrestling coach and not really a manager,
I could almost see him. Well, I almost feel like effective managers in WWE, it's hard to do as a babyface. I can't remember the last one they've had. It's almost like he's got to be a heel, and a heel stable. I think it would be different. It's something that they haven't really had in a while, a strong heel stable, and with someone like Kurt Angle at the forefront, it could be something. So I like that idea.
Team Angle 2.0, all matching
track.
Oh, looks great. Who didn't like that? All right. Well, that is it. That's our top 5 stories of the Wink. Thanks so much for tuning in here to watch that. But right now we got a little bit more for you, so stick around. Here he is, our field correspondent, Andy Malnoske, talking to Butterbean.
This is the 46th annual Hornell Sports Night. We're here with WETM 18 News and, of course, WrestlingInc.com with the legendary Butterbean, one of the all-time boxing greats here. And Butterbean, first off, I mean, this is awesome. Look at all these people. Tell us about tonight.
Well, it's a great cause. The Special Olympics is a big deal. It needs help. So, we're all here to help it out, and then the committee. And then John invited me down. I mean, I'm excited to be here and glad to be here.
Yeah, and first off, also, I mean, we talk about your career, one of the biggest punches of all time. How did you go about getting that strong punch? Was it naturally God-given?
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun. I mean, just got a big butt and you put all the weight behind it and you go at it and you have fun doing it when you do it. That's what helps.
It's certainly, we know about some of your history in boxing. And also the WWE had a chance to compete in WrestleMania against Bart the Hammer Gunn, who won the Brawl for All.
It was pretty bad for Bart. It was pretty bad for Bart, I can tell you.
I mean, tell us about the hype surrounding that in Philadelphia, WrestleMania 15.
Well, you know, Bart actually wanted to get out of wrestling and go into boxing. And he had made Vince mad because of the whole Brawl for All thing. Vince wanted to throw one, he wouldn't do it. So I was his punishment.
And Jim Ross is quoted saying, you know, the Brawl for All, it seemed like a good idea on paper, but in the end, no stars were made because Butterbean knocked him out.
It wasn't really good for them. It wasn't good.
Well, another WWE question I wanted to ask you tonight. You had a nice rivalry with Marvelous Mark Marrow back in the 90s.
Right.
And he had a nice valet, Sable, who you had an interview talking about Sable, saying, you know, who wouldn't want to look at Sable? You know?
They actually become good friends of mine, good folks. You know, Sable's remarried now, and but you know, they're good people.
They really are. And she's married to Brock Lesnar now.
She's married to Brock Lesnar. I was watching the other day, Mark Marrow does speeches at schools and all.
Right.
Very emotional, good speaker. I mean, if you ever get a chance to talk to him, I mean, he's a good motivational type.
Yeah, the Marvelous One. He has been in upstate New York over the years doing his great speakings that he does. And just a couple more quick questions with Butterbean here in Hornell, New York. Was there any plans to keep you involved with wrestling? Did you have any aspirations in WWE after that?
You know, I never did. They were wanting me to, but they wanted me to quit fighting, and it wasn't going to happen.
Right. And you hear about all these celebrities getting into those halls of fame that they have, the Hall of Fame that they have. I would definitely have a vote for you to get in there.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No doubt. And, Butterbean, last quick question I wanted to ask you here tonight, here at Hornell Sports Night, 46th annual, a lot of years here, is the movie Jackass. I mean, you had a great role with Johnny Knoxville. I actually checked it out again the other night, and fighting him in his store. How did that come about, and how cool was that?
Well, it was a lot of fun. They called me up, wanted me to knock him out. I said, sure, I'll knock him out. And that's pretty much how it went down and happened. I mean, it's like, yeah, if you want to knock out, I can do it.
Butterbean, any final thoughts? That's great. That's the greatest line ever. They want me to knock him out, so I did.
I tell you what, if you missed it this year, you don't want to miss this event next year. It's a good event, good cause, helps a lot of people, and it's a lot of fun.
Butterbean, we want to say thank you so much for taking the time for us. And that fist is about bigger than my face. Look at that right there. Wow. Butterbean in the house right here in Hornell.
Thank you very much, Andy, for going out to WrestleCon to get that interview with Butterbean. And thank you very much, Raj, for joining me at the top of the show to talk the top 5 stories of the week. If you like this show, if you like Raj and I, if you like Wrestling Inc. and you want to let the world know, Wrestling Inc. is the place you get your pro wrestling news from. Go over to prowrestlingtees.com/Wrestling Inc. You can get the classic Wrestling Inc. logo shirt, or you get our brand new Jack the Jack Journalist t-shirt, which is my favorite, and you can wear it around, and you can let people know this is where you get your news from. But also, take a photo of you in the shirt, tag us on Twitter, and we'll retweet. We'll give your social media a little bit of love there so we can let everybody know how cool you look in the shirt. You can also go find us over on iTunes and all your other podcast platforms, Wrestling Inc. Audio. You get the WINCLY, you get our post-show reviews, the Two-Face podcast, podcasts and power slams, and so much more. You can go check that out over at Wrestling Inc. Audio. We do a brand new episode of the WINCLY every Tuesday through Thursday afternoon that culminates here on Fridays with a video version. And of course, this video version happens here on the Ringside Wrestling app. You can go find them over on social media at Ringside App, on Twitter at Ringside Wrestling App, over on Instagram. Man, that was it. What? I can't believe that we condensed all of the news that happened here to 5 stories this week, Raj. This was a humdinger of a news week.
There are those weeks where you kind of feel like it's going to be a slow news week, and then bam, you get hit in the face. It's been a nutty week.
I texted you on Monday, and I was like, it is slow.
Yeah, just like lying around, like waiting for something to happen, and then bam,
boom, Wednesday. We're rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
It never stops here, guys. Raj, anything you want to plug, promote, put over here to wrap us up?
I think you got it all.
All right, there it is, guys. I'm at Wink Rebel over on Twitter. He's at Raj Geary over on Twitter. Thanks so much for tuning in. And remember, if you winked, you didn't miss it.